So, hello and welcome to the Lewis Nichols Show. And I'm really excited to bring on my next guest. It's the incredible Mr. Ian Waite. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. It's lovely to be on your show. I've had a busy day because I was up really early this morning on morning breakfast. So actually, not morning breakfast. Good morning, Britain. Yes, I better get it right.
Well, it's great to get you on because obviously you're so well known in the UK, obviously through dance and your career now. I mean, it's a very long career. But I want to go back to the very beginning for you, which is where did your love of dancing come from? Like, can you remember that moment where you thought, you know what, I love this?
So I think it was actually when I did my first competition. I was part of a dancing school, and basically what happened was my mother and father got divorced, and my father was told, it's a great story. I was 10 years old, and my father was told there were lots of single women at the local dance school. So he thought, hey up, I'm going to go along there. So he went along, and he loved it so much he was going like 4 or 5 times a week, or that's what he told us anyway. And then, sorry, that's my dog in the background pining because I've got food on the table and he wants some. Um, and so he said, "Okay, I want you to go with your brother." I was 10 and my brother was 5, and I said, "Dad, I'm sorry, but I'm playing rugby and football. I don't think my friends will appreciate it if I dance." I was a bit sort of like very impressionable, and so he said, "Okay, well, just take your brother along then." So I said, "Okay." So I took my brother along, and within like 3 or 4 weeks, all of a sudden they got me up for a dance, and the rest is history. But the moment that I was sold on it was I did my first competition, and I won it, and the adulation and the crowd and everything like that. I was quite a shy little boy, really, and as soon as I got on the dance floor, I really come out of my shell. And I think it was the competitive side of the dancing originally, but then after that, it became more about the performance and performing to an audience that I
No,
loved so much.
well, obviously you became a household name through Strictly Come Dancing. And I want to ask you about that show. How did that opportunity come about for you? I mean, were you just approached? Did you have to audition to be on the show?
So I was really lucky because what happened was the first series of Strictly was in 2004 in the spring. And I'd heard about it, and I was just moving back from Holland, actually. I'd lived in Holland for 7 years. I just moved back, and obviously they picked a lot of like the top British couples, and I was the top Dutch couple because I was dancing with a Dutch girl, and we were number one in Holland. So they were only looking for British couples and British dancers at the time. So I just come back, and Camilla Dallerup had just split up with Brendan Cole, after the first series, and she asked me if I would dance some shows with her, and I said, "Yeah, great. I've just got back from Holland." Anyway, we started to dance together, and then the producers said to her, "We're looking for new pros for the second series. Would you be interested?" And actual fact, in the meantime, I'd got a gig actually presenting on a DVD with Angela Rippon. It's quite, which
Wow.
is quite amazing because now she's on Strictly this year, and that day that I filmed the DVD with Angela Rippon, Beginners Ballroom Dancing, was the day that the BBC rang me up and said, "We'd like you to audition for the second series of Strictly." And that was 20 years ago. It's the 20th year that I've been involved, right up until the last couple of months where I was I was on Dance with the Stars in Australia. Yeah.
I mean, we've had so many people from Strictly on the show before. We've had Craig, we've had the late Len on the show not so long before he died, and he actually said that he never anticipated the show to be the success that it became. He said he thought it'd be 1, 2 series and it would be gone. Did you think the same? Does it surprise you with just how big this show has become?
Yeah, I mean, I remember my dad saying to me, "Oh, well, if you get 2 series out of this, it'll be fantastic for your career." And so I did the main show for 7 years, and then I went directly on to It Takes Two for 10 years. So it's actually like 17
Yeah.
years later. And I think this is the 20th year. It must be the 20th year
Right,
that
yeah.
going, because I did my first series in 2004. So yeah, it's been such a great journey, actually. I mean, and I think part of my success is the fact that you do have to diversify. I mean, I went from doing the main show to presenting on It Takes Two, which I found quite difficult in the beginning, to actually talk on screen and be succinct and be, sound bites, and just, be, not stumble at my words like I am now. But yeah, it was a difficult transition, but I think that's the best way to do it.
Well, you did really, really well. And what I was going to say, as a dancer, was that difficult to be kind of 1 minute on the show dancing and having celebrity partners to then being a presenter? Did you ever kind of sit back and think, I wish I was out there. I wish I was doing that?
It was difficult in the first couple of years, I have to say, even though I was given the dream job. Shush, come here. Sorry, he never does this. He never pines, but it's because I've got food on the table. He's pining in the background. He never does that. Yeah, so I think the first 2 years I really missed it. I missed being part of the main show, and I missed dancing. I missed all of that. So, but then, after that, I was enjoying the presenting, and I was still touring a lot. So, yeah, I had the opportunity to tour all over the world. Cooper, he might be quiet if I put him in my arms. Hopefully, he's still looking at the food. But yeah, I mean, after that, I enjoyed touring, and that's where I got my my fix from. Really, it was the entertaining the audiences. That was the main thing, really.
You've probably been asked this all the time, and I imagine you probably don't like to answer it. But out of all the celebrity partners you've had, because you've had some brilliant partners, you've had Jodie Kidd, Denise Lewis, Zoe Ball, Mika Paris. Is there one for you that stands out as one of your favourites, in a sense of you've built a really close connection with, or you just enjoyed the most?
Well, obviously, I'm closest to Zoe Ball because I think we worked together for so long. Because on It Takes Two, we worked together for 10 years. So, and I'm still very close to Zoe. We still go out quite often, and we are close. I consider her one of my best friends now, and I actually knew her before I danced with her on the show. So it was nice to actually then dance with her, and the fact that I knew her before. But also Penny Lancaster. I've always been very, very good friends with Penny and Rod, and been invited to Christmas parties, and
Wow, at Rod Stewart's house.
10-year anniversary, their 10-year anniversary. Yeah. Well, I was lucky that when I danced with Penny, they were living in Beverly Hills at the time. So I had to move out to Beverly Hills for 4 weeks, which was terrible, as you can imagine. Like rehearsing from 9 till 1 every morning, and then having the rest of the day off in Beverly Hills was awful. And we were in a studio on Rodeo Drive, and I think on the 4th day that we were rehearsing there, Rod came in to say hello, and I hadn't met him at that point. He came in and he said, "Penny, our sitting room at home here is bigger than this hall. Why don't you just rehearse at home?" So from then on, we were rehearsing in Rod Stewart's Beverly Hills mansion for 3 weeks. Yeah, which was amazing. And I had lunch on the terrace with them a couple of times, which was so surreal. I mean, I'm sat there with Rod Stewart and Penny, and on his terrace of his Beverly Hills mansion having lunch. I really felt like I was in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Do you know what I mean?
That's incredible.
This is not normal. This is not normal.
Wow. What was Rod Stewart like? Did you have like conversations with him?
I love Rod so much. He's just such a down-to-earth guy. I mean, you know, you would never know really if you didn't know about his fame and his songs. You would never know that he was famous because he is such a lovely guy, very down to earth, really into his football. At the time, I think Reading were just in the Championship, and I'm my family are big supporters of Reading Football Club, and so we had, you know, we were sort of had a lot in common there, and we were talking about Reading and their successes. So yeah, he just a lovely guy.
One person I'd love to ask you about, because people seem to speak so highly of him, is the late Sir Bruce Forsyth. People said that he just had a way of just connecting with the audience. What are your memories of being around him and working with him?
Well, I have to say, I used to love Bruce, even when I was a young boy. I used to laugh my head off at Bruce. I loved his humor. It's very old school, sort of silly humor, wasn't it? But a little bit like mine and Vincent's on our tour, actually, because we do a lot of silly, sort of old school humor like that. And I must admit, he didn't let me down. As soon as I met him on set, he was so lovely and friendly and encouraging. And we did really, in the beginning, we used to see him a lot. He used to be a lot on the show, and he used to be a lot backstage with us. And so you got to know the man really well. And he would always give you lots of his time, and he loved tall dancers as well. So you know, I was one of his favorites. Camilla was one of his favorites. Natalie Lowe. We were always. He would be like, "Oh, the tallness and the elegance. I absolutely love it. I really do."
That's such a good impression. I didn't expect that.
And he used to call me up, and he used to. And I remember once I said to him, Bruce, would it be possible to use some of your catchphrases on my tour? And he said, well, I don't really know. He said, you know, times have been hard recently. And I tell you what, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a fiver. He said, no, higher. I said, okay, I'll give you 2 fivers. He said, no, you don't get nothing for a pair, not in this game. I went, oh, all right then. Anyway, he said, yeah, I will let you. He said, but I said, okay, I'll send you a check in the post. He said, okay, thanks very much, Ian. He said, oh, by the way, you're my favourite.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. One thing I want to ask you about, of course, is I mentioned earlier is Len Goodman. Now, it's such a big loss to the show. He left the show a few years ago, but he really was one of the instrumental parts of Strictly Come Dancing. And, you know, he had his catchphrases. He was just fantastic. What were your memories of Len and working with Len? Because he was a legend.
Well, you know, I knew Len before he became famous on Strictly. For many years, he's always had quite a unique personality, very much like Anton du Beke. Always had that kind of eccentric. I mean, he was very sort of East End, wasn't he, lad? And with his old. And I just thought, you know, he used to write all of his own stuff on Strictly. And, you know, that role was absolutely made for him because he had such a great personality. He was so generous. And also, what I used to love, you know, in the old days when we were at TVC and around the donut at the BBC, we'd be outside in between like the filming. And he would always give you lots of words of encouragement, lots of advice on dancing, lots of advice on, you know, how to cope with your celebrity. You know, it was always very generous, and I'm really grateful for the relationship that I had with him. And you know, I think people like Anton look up to Len still and emulate them because he was so good at what he did.
One person I miss still is Darcy Bussell. I think she was just brilliant on that panel, and I'm hoping one day she comes back. I mean, what were your thoughts on Darcy being on the panel?
Well, I love Darcy because she kind of looked at it from an aesthetics dancing point of view, which is great because, you know, there's nobody more legendary than Darcy Bussell. She, you know, I was so lucky because I got to dance 2 dances with her on Strictly, 2 demos, and she was like a sponge. She was so good. She just absorbed all the information, and I'd seen her as a prima ballerina before she came on Strictly. So you know, she was already up on a pedestal for me. So to actually dance with her was just a dream come true. Actually, I've danced with quite a few dames now. Dame Darcy Bustle, Dame Denise Lewis. Quite a few of them, yeah.
What made you leave Strictly? When was that moment where you thought, do you know what, it's the right time to step away now? Because it's been part of your life for so long. So what was the reason?
I had done it for 7 years, and I really felt like, I think because I'd done so much, I was doing all the tours as well as the show, and I really didn't have any time off. And it's difficult when you're in that scenario and you're really tired. It's difficult to look at it from an outside perspective and long-term perspective. And I was given the opportunity to be on It Takes Two as a presenter, and I thought this is the perfect role for me. I get to be on TV. It has more longevity, and let's face it, I was connected with the show for 17 years, almost as long as Anton. But that's unheard of as far as the dancers is concerned. So I think I made the right decision at the time. Looking back, I kind of regretted it in the beginning, because I probably have lasted out another 2 or 3 years doing what I was doing. I mean, recently I did Dancing with the Stars in Australia, and when I got the phone call to do it, I thought, finally, I get to be a judge, even if it is in Australia. And they went, no, we want you to come as a dancer. And I was like, as a dancer? I'm like, do you realize I'm 52? They were like, yeah, but you look like you're 35, so we would like to have you on. And it was quite funny because half of the pros were in their 40s and over, or they were like really young, and it was the first time they'd done anything like it. And all of the older ones made the final. So it was quite nice to be coming back and doing that after all those years.
Will you be going back again?
Well, I have been asked quite a few times to go back, but I don't know. We will see, because it's like 2 months away. It's 2 months away from this boy.
Oh.
I did have an older Labradoodle, but unfortunately he died of cancer just at the end of July. So he was my main worry and concern, actually, while I was away. But yeah, so we'll see.
I would like to.
Lucy would say, if the price is right.
I would love to, before we talk about the tour, just go through some of the contestants this year, just to get your thoughts on how you think they're going to do. So starting with actor Adam Thomas, what are your predictions for him?
He seems like one of those people that is good at everything. So I can imagine him being great. Most of these people are sort of musical theatres, so they can move. If you've had some sort of training as a child as a dancer, it always helps you. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, go on.
I say actress Amanda Abingdon.
Yeah, I think is she one of the younger ones?
Yeah.
No. That's probably why I don't know her. Who is she?
She's an actress. You're Angela Rippon.
Oh, well, Angela Rippon, obviously, I know very well, and she's very fit and light on her feet and flexible. She can do the split still. So I think she's going to be the only. Listen, it's a hard show to do because it's physically very demanding, and you have to be. I mean, normally the athletes do well just because they can last till the end. It physically gets hard work, and so I think she's going to be amazing. I think she's going to shock a lot of people.
Then we have television presenter Angela Scanlon.
Oh yeah, I love Angela. Yeah, I love Angela. Well, I don't really know. It's difficult to say, isn't it? It's difficult to say if they've had any dance experience or not. I don't know.
So, what about Bobby Brazier, the actor and model?
Well, he's certainly young and fit. So if that's anything to go by, he has the right look for a dancer, doesn't he?
He does.
So I think he'll have the public vote probably because he's so cute.
And then, of course, we've got legend that is Les Dennis. He's going to be on the show.
Wow. Well, I think he'll be entertaining. And it'll be funny. I think he'll be funny. Hopefully, he'll be like giving us the comedy.
Well, I want to go and talk about the tour now because you're back on tour with the amazing Vincent. I mean, what a partnership. Two icons of Strictly. So you're going on tour with the Magic of Dance.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and the style of the show and what people can expect.
So we wanted to do, dancing is magical, and there's so many magical moments in our show. We wanted to make them very special. So we kind of took every dance and made it a show dance and an individual performance. And I feel as though that's what you get. The show's very much a variety show. So we go from we've got an amazing singer, Jai McDowell, who won Britain's Got Talent 12 years ago. And we've got two gorgeous girls, both who are top world professional dancers. Faye, who I dance with, she's going on to partner Anton in his show coming up, his tour coming up, and then on to the Christmas show with Aliash to partner him. So she's like, and she was always the leading lady to Brendan Cole on his shows. So she's an absolute superstar who we don't know about on TV, but she's just one of the tops. Victoria Martin, who is dancing with Vincent. She, funnily enough, I taught her when I was in Holland, and I brought her over for one of my boys, and she's a world-class dancer. She is fabulous. Last year, she partnered Kevin Clifton in Burn the Floor. So she's like phenomenal. And we go through like the show goes into very big songs through Jai's performances. We do a lot of Rat Pack at the beginning of Act 1, goes into rock sort of numbers to the end of Act 1. Then we go into the more Latin Cuban numbers at the beginning of Act 2, Charleston. We've got a comedy number. Me and Vince always do a comedy number in our shows, and this one we did our first show at the Isle of Wight, and literally the house exploded with laughter when we did this show, which was really funny. We do the Spanish flamenco and paso doble, and then we all do some solos at the end, which are our specialists, if you like. Vincent obviously finishing the show with his Argentine tango. So it's a great night out. There's a lot of comedy. We talk about Strictly a lot, and you find out a lot about us, and we have a great chemistry. Me and Vince just do have such a laugh together, and it's a little bit like the dancing man's Morecambe and Wise, or the dancing two Ronnies.
Do you know, it's amazing. You can just tell by the way you're talking about what people can expect, the excitement that comes from you. So it kind of gives everyone an idea of just how much work has actually gone into making this show.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, it's a labor of love as well, because we don't have loads of producers producing it for us. We do it between us. So we choose the running order ourselves. I edit the music. Which is constantly evolving, especially in rehearsals. But they'll say, "Oh, can we take 2 bars out there, or can we add 2 bars there, or can we put a reprise on the end of this?" So I'm constantly on the laptop, like changing the music, and so it's definitely a collaboration and a creation that evolves over the rehearsal period. But it's kind of, and then it's our baby. You know, we go on to perform it around the country, and you really have put your heart and soul in it. And I think it shows in our performances.
Well, we're going to put the link on the video here, so people can go and have a look and find their nearest venue to go and watch you both. And it sounds like it's going to be an exciting show. But I've got to ask. I mean, obviously, it's nearly 20 years ago since you first appeared on Strictly. How have you not aged since then? I mean, it's like you've been frozen in time, and you just look really, really well.
Lewis, you don't have to butter me up.
No, you really do.
Done the interview now.
It's incredible.
Well, all I can say is I have a very good doctor. I can give you her number if you like.
It's incredible. I just can't get over it.
No, I'm really. I mean, you know, I am quite consistent in my training regime and eating regime. I'm quite careful. I don't drink very often. I don't smoke. So I think that, you know, that helps you stay young. And yeah, and I keep active and I keep dancing, which is the most important thing out of all of it.
Well, honestly, Ian, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm definitely going to come along and watch one of the shows myself. It sounds really exciting, so I'm excited to come along. But thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Lewis. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. Thank